Another beautiful day to be here on AM today on OSRC television, reaching you live from Orita Obele. As you know how we do it on the show, we take you through the newspapers headlines. After the headlines, we have sections for our discussion segment, and all of this makes a beautiful show. Yes, today evening, the World Cup that started on the 11th of June 2026, came to an end. Yes, with Spain winning, lifting the World Cup. Well, I'm not alone on today's show. Pardon me, maybe the excitement. I'm here with Bukola Oba. Buki, it's nice to have you on the show.
Nice to have you back on the show. Good morning, Shade. How are you doing?
Good morning. I hope you watched the match yesterday.
Well, I watched some snippets, but I wasn't really fully involved in the match. But it's actually a beautiful one. At least Spain won the World Cup against Argentina. At least I saw that, and of course, congratulations to Spain. Good morning, dear viewer. Welcome to another beautiful Monday morning. As Shade has said, we are reaching you live from the Osrc television studios right here in Orita Obele, Akure. My name is Bukola Oba, and of course, as always, we are here again doing what we are passionate about, keeping you informed and bringing you conversation and issues that are important to you and our society. Of course, we've got a beautiful lineup for you today, so do well to stay with us and don't go anywhere.
All right, moving ahead, we go straight to the newspaper's headlines for today. And beginning with The Nation, we have the story: Nigeria asked ECOWAS to drag South Africa before AU. Well, you have details of this story you'll find in the Nation newspaper for today. And I take this one: work on 1 trillion Naira Kaduna Light Rail to begin in 2 months. From Abdul Ghaffar, okay, it says work on the long-awaited Kaduna Light Rail project, estimated at over 1 trillion Naira, will commence within the next 2 months. Governor Ubasani made this known while kicking off the construction of 11 road projects in Zaria and Zabongeri local government areas of the state. Sani described President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the pillar behind Kaduna infrastructural revealed that contractors have been mobilized for the mass transit project. It said Kaduna and Lagos states are the only states selected by the federal government for the light rail project. According to him, the light rail project will, on completion, significantly transform transportation in the states and further strengthen its economic competitiveness. Well, that's a nice one there. Let's say it's beginning with Kaduna, Lagos. So hopefully, at the completion of that one, then other states will also witness.
Yes, of course. We also want something like that in the southwest, and that's one thing most people are clamoring for. Of course, it's going to ease more movement between the southwestern states, even to the northern parts of the country. I'm going to be taking my first story from Punch newspaper. Dollar sale roll. Marketers halt Dangote fuel loading. FG steps in. Marketers of petroleum products have stated, that the loading of fuel has been put on hold at the Dangote Petroleum Refinery following the facility's decision to sell fuel in dollars. Many marketers told the Punch of possible fuel tightness across the country, but the refinery denied the claim, urging that fuel loading was ongoing with the Lekki-based plants. Petroleum marketers said they suspended large-scale fuel loading in the last few years as they await clarity on the new pricing template being adopted by the refinery. They also await the cost of newly imported petroleum products. The development heightened uncertainty in the downstream petroleum sector, with marketers wary of buying large volumes of petrol at the prevailing prices, only to see the cost of the product fall shortly after. The National Publicity Secretary of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Chinedu Ukadike, in a telephone interview on Sunday, said marketers were being forced to adopt a cautious approach because of the uncertainty surrounding the next price of petrol. The issue is simple. Marketers are not buying because they are trying to look at the market dynamics. Whatever we are using today is existing products in tank farms, which we are buying around 1,250 naira and 1,300 naira, Ukadike said. He said the uncertainty had been worsened by the expected arrival of new crude supplies and imported petrol, whose pricing templates remain unclear. For more details on this story, you can find on the Punch newspaper.
All right, still back to the Nation newspaper. I have the story here. Badejo Okunsoya pledges to lead NBA with integrity. Senior advocate of Nigeria, Oyinkansola Ogunsoya, SAN, Mrs. Okunsoya, was yesterday declared the president-elect of the Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) after a keenly contested election. She will be the 33rd president of the lawyers' body. She promised to improve welfare, unite the bar, and lead with integrity, courage, and accountability. A victory means women now occupy all key positions in the judiciary, including the Supreme Court, a Court of Appeal, Nigerian Law School, all the MBA sections, and Lagos branch. But the poll was immediately thrown into controversy with two defeated presidential candidates, Lateef Omoyemi Akongbe, SAN, and Are Olumuyiwa Akimboro, SAN, rejecting the credibility of the process over alleged widespread technical failures and irregularities. Outgoing NBA President Afam Osigwe SAN appealed for calm and moderation, urging lawyers to put the election behind them and work towards preserving the unity of the association. The Electoral Committee of the NBA declared Badejo Okunsoya winner after she pulled 12,317 votes to defeat Akongbe, who scored 7,934 votes, and Akimboro, who polled 5,855 votes. A total of 26,184 votes were cast in the electronic election, representing 36% turnout from 82,172 registered voters. Badejo Okunsoya will be the first elected female president of the NBA. The only other female president, Priscilla Okoye, who was elected vice president, completed the term of the late Clement Akpambo after he was appointed Attorney General of the Federation by the then General Sani Abacha military regime. In our acceptance speech, Badejo Okunsoya described the outcome as a mandate to build a bolder bar that works for everyone. Well, cheers to women again.
Of
I
course,
think we got this.
It's good to see that more women are occupying spaces. It's a beautiful thing to see in this day and age. I'm still on Punch newspaper. 2027, PDP, APC upload governor candidates on INEC portal. The People's Democratic Party and the ruling All Progressive Congress have commenced the upload of names of their governorship and state houses of assembly candidates for the 2027 general elections. Speaking exclusively with the Punch, the PDP National Organizing Secretary Umar Butaro disclosed that the party commenced the upload process on Saturday. Also, a senior APC official who spoke on condition of anonymity because it was not authorized to comment publicly told our correspondent that the party would upload only the governorship and the state houses of assembly candidates whose nominations had been cleared by the primary election appeal panel and the National Working Committee. Earlier, in line with the Independent National Electoral Commission's timetable, political parties submitted the nomination list of their presidential and National Assembly candidates between June 27 and July 11, 2026. The process also included the submission of Forms EC9 and EC9A to EC9E as required under Section 29(1) of the Electoral Act 2026. INEC also fixed the submission of nomination forms for governorship and state houses of assembly candidates to run from 9 a.m. on July 18 to 6 p.m. on August 8, 2026. The timetable further indicates that the personal particulars of presidential and national assembly candidates will be published on August 8, while those of governorship and state House of Assembly candidates will be displayed on August 29. For more details on this story, you can find on Punch newspaper.
All right, again to the nation. Obi Atiku lacks structure enough to defeat Tinubu, says Ganduje. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and one-time Anambra State Governor Peter Obi lacked the required grassroots structures and regional support in the north to unseat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje declared yesterday. Atiku and Obi are stranded bearers of the African Democratic Congress (ADC) and Nigeria Democratic Congress (NDC) in the January 16th, 2027 presidential election. The immediate past All Progressives Congress (APC) National Chairman Ganduje, who spoke at an event in Kano at the weekend, described the North as the decisive factor in Nigeria's presidential election, arguing that neither Atiku nor Obi commands the political machinery needed to secure victory in the region. He said the North is strategic in every presidential election in Nigeria. With due respect to our friends in the opposition, neither Peter Obi nor Atiku Abubakar can mobilize sufficient support in this region to defeat President Tinubu in 2027. The former Kano State Governor maintained that despite ongoing realignments and coalition talks among opposition parties, both politicians lack the grassroots structures necessary to make significant electoral gains in northern Nigeria. But one would wonder with, let's watch and see how it goes. The permutation of politicians.
Still on Punch newspaper, tenant dies after disputed eviction at Lagos Estate. A 67-year-old tenant, Pastor Bolaji Olukotu, has died after he was allegedly assaulted and forcefully evicted from his residence at Admiralty Homes Estate, Lekki, Lagos, by suspected agents of a landlord during a disputed property takeover. Punch Metro learned on Saturday that the incident occurred on Saturday, July 11, while the victim died in the early hours of last Sunday after he was rushed to a private hospital. According to an eyewitness account by his lawyer, Barrister Akpobome Deniro, the incident stemmed from an unresolved rental dispute between Pastor Bolaji and his landlord. He noted that Bolaji has rented the apartment with the agreement that he could buy it upon the expiration of his lease. However, when his tenancy expired, the landlord made an offer. The late Bolaji could not fulfill the monetary requirements. The non-fulfillment of the sales agreement was said to have prompted the landlord to insist that Bolaji should vacate the apartment so that the property would be sold to another buyer. Narrating the circumstances behind his client's death, Deniro said he received a distress call from his client at about 2 p.m. on July 11. He was in obvious distress and pleaded with me to come to his residence immediately, stating that "I'm dying. Please come to the house. I'm dying." His voice was weak, trembling, and laden with pain, the lawyer said. For more details on this story, you can find on Punch newspaper. Then I'm going to take another story on Punch, talking about the World Cup. Spain becomes first nation to hold men's, women's World Cup titles simultaneously. Spain have become the first nation in football history to simultaneously hold the FIFA Men's World Cup and FIFA Women's World Cup titles. FIFA announced the milestone in a post on its official X handle on Sunday, following Spain's 1-0 victory over Argentina in the 2026 FIFA World Cup final in New York. Celebrating the achievement, FIFA wrote, history makers Spain have become the first nation to hold both the at FIFA World Cup and at FIFA WWC simultaneously. Spain's triumph in the men's tournament came 3 years after the country's women's team lifted the FIFA Women's World Cup for the first time by defeating England 1-0 in the 2023 final in Sydney, Australia, thanks to Olga Carmona's decisive goal. The later success also marked Spain's second men's World Cup title, having previously won the tournament in South Africa in 2010 by claiming the 2026 crown while remaining the reigning women's world champions. Spain achieved a feat no other nation has managed since the inception of the two FIFA World Cup competitions. The historic double further highlights Spain's recent dominance in international football. So if you want more details on this story, you can find them on Punch newspaper. And I think that's actually a victory to Spain. Congratulations to them once again for winning the World Cup. Okay.
All right, we take our next story from the Guardian newspaper. On the Guardian newspaper this morning had these headlines. We have here from INEC, it says parties begin candidates upload, express confidence ahead of INEC deadlines. And details of this you'll find on the Guardian newspaper for this morning.
Okay, I'm going to go further to Vanguard, and it says Senate's belated rise against repentant terrorists. The Senate has finally given voice to a national outrage that has simmered for too long. Nigeria's policy of rehabilitating and reintegrating so-called repentant Boko Haram fighters without doing them justice. It has outlived whatever limited utility its creators may once have claimed. A program that begins with surrender and ends with return to the very society these men once terrorized is not a strategy but a gamble with human lives and public trust, as well as a nursery bed for the aggravation of insecurity. Operation Safe Corridor (OSC), launched in 2016 under former President Muhammadu Buhari, was sold as a humane pathway out of insurgency. In practice, it has too often looked like a shortcut around justice. There is no science that can neatly decipher repentance in the mind of a terrorist, especially one indoctrinated from childhood into violent jihadism. Even when remorse is sincere, it should not erase accountability. The proper sequence is investigation, prosecution, and only where the law permits mercy. The central failure of the program is moral as well as operational. Victims of Boko Haram's atrocities are told to endure the return of men linked to slaughter, abductions, and the destruction of schools and entire communities. That does not heal society. It deepens the wound. It also sends a dangerous signal to would-be recruits that violence may be followed by soft landing, rehabilitation, and eventual release. In a country already contending with banditry, kidnapping, and insurgent splittering, that is an invitation to more bloodshed. And for more details on that, you can find on Vanguard.
All right, to the Guardian newspaper now. Parties begin candidate upload, express confidence ahead of INEC deadline. The All Progressives Congress, APC, People's Democratic Party, PDP, and Labour Party, LP, have expressed confidence that they will meet the deadline for uploading the names of their governorship and State House of Assembly candidates to the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC portal ahead of the August 8th deadline. While the APC has commenced the digital upload of its candidates, the PDP and LP said they had to put in place the necessary arrangements to complete the exercise within the time frame stipulated by INEC. Checks at the APC national headquarters in Abuja revealed that the party's information and communications technology department began processing the documents on Saturday as part of efforts to beat the statutory deadline ahead of the 2027 general elections. 16 APC governors seeking second-term mandates are being given priority in the upload process. They include governors Umo Ino, that's of Akwa Ibom, Asint Aliya of Benue, Ubasani Kaduna, Alba Yusuf Kanu, Diko Rada Katsina, Nasir Idris Kebi, Umar Bago Niger, Caleb Muftwang Plateau, Ahmad Ali Sokoto, Abu Kefas Taraba, and Dauda Lawal of Zamfara. Also expected to feature on the party's governorship list are 12 first-time governorship flag bearers. And still on the garden, I take another story. Burna Boy becomes first Nigerian artist to perform at FIFA World Cup final halftime show. Alright, Grammy award-winning Afrobeat star Damini Ebunoluwa Ugulu, popularly known as Burna Boy, made history on Sunday after becoming the first Nigerian artist to perform at the FIFA World Cup final halftime show. The singer shared the stage with Colombian superstar Shakira during FIFA's inaugural halftime entertainment at the 2026 World Cup final held at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, United States. His appearance marked another milestone for Nigerian music on the global stage. Although Femi Kuti and Rema had previously performed at different FIFA World Cup events, Burna Boy became the first Nigerian artist to perform during the World Cup final halftime show. Wow, that was also a fantastic performance yesterday.
Okay. Now to international news. Jakpa, Trump unveils stricter visa rules for international students. I'm taking this from Nigerian Tribune. For international students, journalists. The administration of U.S. President Donald Trump has introduced new visa rules that will limit how long international students, exchange visitors, and foreign journalists can stay in the United States. Under the new Department of Homeland Security (DHS) policy, most international students and exchange visitors will be allowed to remain in the U.S. for a maximum of 4 years. Foreign journalists will receive visas valid for up to 240 days, while Chinese journalists will be limited to 90 days. Anyone who wishes to stay beyond the approved period must apply for an extension or leave the United States and reapply. For more details on that, you can find on Punch newspaper, and I think that's where we are going to end our newspaper review today.
Okay, no, I'll just take this last one. It says from the Guardian, says cooking gas imports surge by 1,400% as petrol supply dips 22%. Nigeria flares $900 million worth of gas, exports 60% despite domestic shortages. Nigeria's imports of liquefied petroleum gas, also known as cooking gas, jumped by 1,400% in June 2026 as domestic supply weakened, raising fresh concerns over the country's growing dependence on imported fuel despite its vast natural gas reserves. Data from the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority for June 2026 showed that Nigerian liquefied gas imports rose from just 0.1 kilotons per day in May to 1.5 in June, representing a 1,400% increase. The surge in imports came as domestic supply fell by 10% during this period in June. Well, And that will be it for the newspaper's headlines for this morning. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be back with our guest. Don't go away.
Chief Michael Adekunle Ajashin, born November 28, 1908, was a distinguished Nigerian educator, politician, and statesman renowned for his integrity, commitment to democracy, and transformative impact on education in Nigeria. Born in Owo, present-day Ondo State, Ajashi began his education at St. Andrew's College, Oyo, from 1924 to 1927, where he trained as a teacher. He furthered his studies at Fowler Bay College in Sierra Leone, earning a Bachelor of Arts degree in English, Modern History and Economics in 1946. He then obtained a postgraduate diploma in education from the University of London in 1947. Ajashin's career in education commenced with his appointment as principal of Imadi College in Owo in 1947. He was instrumental in staff development, encouraging teachers to pursue further training at institutions like University College Ibadan. In 1963, he founded Owo High School, serving as the first principal until his retirement in 1975. Ajashin's political journey began in the 1950s as a founding member and national vice president of the Action Group, advocating for policies such as free education, universal health care, and Nigeria's immediate independence. He served as a federal legislator from 1954 to 1966. In 1979, he was elected governor of Ondo State under the Unity Party of Nigeria (UPN), with Akin Omoboriwo as his deputy. His administration prioritized education, establishing the Ondo State University in 1982. Now Ekiti. In 1939, Ajashin married Babafunke Tenabe, a fellow educator. They had 4 children, including Olajumoke Anifowoshe, who later served as Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Ondo State. Ajashin's commitment to democracy was evident in the 1990s when he became a leading figure in the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, advocating for the restoration of democracy and the recognition of MKO Abiola's electoral mandate. His activism led to his arrest in 1995 under General Sani Abacha's regime. In recognition of his contributions, Ondo State University was renamed Adekunle Ajashin University in 2000. His governance style, marked by simplicity and incorruptibility, remains a benchmark in Nigerian politics, as he once stated. And I quote, "I came into office in October 1979 with a set of my own rich native dresses and left office in December 1983 with the same." His legacies continue to linger in memories, generation after generation.
Glad to know you're still with us on AM today. As we promised you while going on that break, that when we return, we'll be having our first guest on the show for today. And joining us on the show this morning is Charles Oyewole, as is the Controller of Correctional Services on the state. It's nice to have you join us on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right. Yes. The topic for us this morning is how the correctional centers in Nigeria. Yes. Let's begin with that question first. Like, how correctional is it? Because it's supposed to be with prison services, and then it was changed to correctional homes. Has this change in nomenclature, has it affect any change in reality or on how things are done there and the outcomes?
Actually, the Nigerian Correctional Service Act 2019 repealed the Prison Act P29, Federal Laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 2004, that was to change the nomenclature of formerly Nigerian Prison Service to Nigerian Correctional Service. And as a result of that, a lot of innovations were being brought in the area of reformation of inmates, rehabilitation, and reintegration back into the society.
Were this not initially the roles you played while it was the prison service?
Actually, formally, imprisonment is being regarded as for punishment, but there has been a paradigm shift now. Imprisonment is as punishment. That is, they still maintain their human rights. It is no longer imprisonment for punishment. It is now imprisonment as punishment. That is, from punitive to corrective measures. And as a result of that, a lot of programs are being put in place to change their attitudinal behavior, which is in the area of reformation, rehabilitation, and reintegration. And a lot of programs are being put in place so that there is need for them to have a change of their mentality.
So what are these programs?
Yes, these are programs. We have programs in the area of adult education, educational programs, and acquisition of skills that is going on, so that at the end of the day we will have a complete reformed human being, so as to enable them to contribute their own quota to the development of their immediate community and the entire nation as a whole.
Yeah, I've actually read of inmates writing exams, national exams.
Actually,
like WAEC, JAM, and
yes, you are right.
Prison.
All over the federation, we have our inmates that are undergraduates. We have inmates that are pursuing their master's program. Even we have the ones that are pursuing PhD programs. While I was opportune to be the officer in charge of Medium Security Custodial Center, Akure, 2022, we started writing NECO. And before I left, we have reached an advanced stage to start National Open University program. But we are yet to acquire all the necessary requirements for the commencement of this program.
Okay. Okay, now let's talk about overcrowding. There's been speculation that most of our correctional centers are overcrowded, and I think that can be one of the major challenges we are currently experiencing. So can you tell us how overcrowding has affected the correctional center in achieving the rehabilitation mandates that has been placed on them?
Actually, it is a plain fact that some of our centers are overcrowded. But going by the main fact that there has been an increase in crime rate, and when these inmates are being brought, there is no any other place they could be kept than in the custodial centers. So this issue of overcrowdedness has affected the proper classification of inmates, because there is need for proper classification. So this has been an hindrance towards proper classification, and as well, you know, a facility that is built to accommodate certain number of inmates, and you discover that the inbuilt capacity is being doubled. This will affect a lot of some of our programs.
But what do you think can be done, actually?
Yes, actually, at the federal level, at least on 2 separate occasions, the federal government has paid fines for inmates below those that has fines of 500,000 downwards, at least on 2 separate occasions now, just to decongest. And in the process of decongesting the custodial centers, it will enable the federal government to save some certain amount. To take care of inmates, at least, will be reduced to a minimal level.
Talking about amounts being spent to take care of inmates, with this congestion that you're talking about, one would begin to think that, for instance, feeding of the inmates. Yes, there have been times when news filter into town about the poor feeding of inmates, you know, improper nutrition and all of that. How is the situation now?
Yes, I want to tell you on this platform that there has been an increase in quality and in quantity. During presently, most of the centers under my command, I did my second quarter inspection visit just about 2 weeks ago. The inmates I met there, they are looking fine, no doubt about that.
But I was still talking about the welfare, and I think the welfare of the correctional officers are just as important as that of the inmates as well. Because of course, to achieve a motivated workforce contributes largely to the system. So since the appointment into Jojo, can you tell us some improvements that has actually been achieved in terms of feeding the inmates, even the accommodation and welfare in general?
Yes, since his assumption of office, Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, there has been a great improvement in terms of feeding of inmates. Their feeding rate was increased to a reasonable level, and me as the officer at the command level have ensured that there has been an improvement in quantity and the quality of inmates
as
ration.
Well as the correctional officers as well.
As per the correctional officers, we've received of recent that to boost our morale and as a source of motivation to continue to put in our best. If you can see now, of recent, there has been a reduction in incidences of attack, both external attacks and issue of escape in our custodial center. This has been as a result of staff that are more dedicated to their official responsibilities.
What about the strength of the facility itself? Because there was a time that we heard in the news of the dilapidating structures within the system. I think it was after a rainfall, heavy rainfall. Then
Talk about the living condition
there was a collapse of one of the structures. I think this was in Abuja then, and then inmates, started to make escape. Do you have, in the state, for instance, do you have structures that are solid, that can really ensure that these people are within the confines?
Are well secured.
Yes, of the walls.
Yes, the structures we have within Ondo State Command, they are being fortified. Presently, there has been great improvement in the structure and the immediate environment of our custodial centers. There have been some construction works going on presently at the medium security custodial center Akure. About 240 capacity cell is being put in place, and then there have been renovation work at the center as well. Presently, at our center in Owo, perimeter fencing, boundary fencing is going on, even is almost at the completion stage. So with the advent of the Honorable Minister and our indefatigable Controller General, SN Wakushi, MFR, MNI, there has been great improvement in our custodial facilities.
Okay, sorry, please, let's talk about, for instance, the health care for the inmates, because it said that we have quite a number of the inmates, suffering from tuberculosis, and we know that tuberculosis is a highly contagious disease. So, what's the correctional service doing to ensure that the inmates are healthy?
Whenever inmates are being brought, test is being conducted on them in collaboration with the State Ministry of Health. When test is being conducted, they will come, take their sputum for laboratory test. At the end of the day, if it was discovered that some of them are positive, then immediately they are being isolated. We have isolated section where such inmates are being kept, and immediately their drugs are being provided. I want to sincerely assure you on this platform that we have some of our inmates that have undergone tuberculosis treatment and they are now negative.
Wow.
Yes,
Beautiful.
I can assure you of that.
That's commendable. And now let's talk about some inmates awaiting trial. There've been speculations. Of course, there are some inmates that they've been awaiting trials and they've spent years there. But eventually, some courts find them, they discharge them eventually. So, what does it say about our judicial system, Nigeria's system, punished through prolonged detentions like that?
I want to make an amendment to that statement.
Okay.
Innocent people are not being punished unjustly. There's always a reason before a person could be remanded in the custodial centers.
Okay.
And the criminal justice system involves a lot of agencies. The police, the judiciary, and the correctional service. Actually, there have been most of the inmates in custodial centers are awaiting trial. You see some of them awaiting trial for a period of 5, 6, 7 years. That hadn't been, there had been a kind of speedy trial, they might have been convicted, even served their jail term, and then return back to the society. But you see, the CJS system involves a lot of agencies and establishments that ought to have.
Well, it's also known that some people could not afford to get a legal representation as well. But what do you think Nigeria can do to ensure that maybe to provide these people some
with legal representation?
Legal
yes, we have the Legal Aid Council.
Okay.
They have been of great assistance, and our welfare unit, they reach out to some legal professionals to come and carry out pro bono services on behalf of indigent inmates that cannot afford the legal fee.
Okay.
All right, but then you said something that there are no innocent people behind the bars.
It is when they are being adjudged.
But
there have been cases in Nigeria where
it is when they are being adjudged.
I actually emphasize that.
I want to say, have you not encountered a situation in your years of service, please? Have you not encountered a situation where a person was placed behind the bars by some powerful hands in this country?
Yes, immediately we discover such an inmate.
Okay.
We take up his matter. Yes.
Because
we make representation.
Because even as at last year, there were some cases in Bayelsa State, though, concerning
an inmate.
Yes, concerning
I read it on social media.
A powerful woman in the country who felt they stole from her and all of that. There have been cases like this where big people just felt this person needs to be taught a lesson, and then or in the cases of sometimes maybe protests, where protesters are just rounded and they don't go through the due legal process, and they found themselves in correctional home centers for years.
Yes, I want to make a clarification on this platform. With the Ondo State Judiciary, occasionally they will instruct us to compile the list of awaiting trials. Those that have stayed too long, we make compilation and we forward to the Ministry of Justice. And it is the responsibility of the Chief Judge of the state to do normally embark on jail delivery. That is, all those minor cases overstayed in custodial centers, they do attend to them.
Okay. One would want to think that before someone gets to the correctional center, probably it would have been from, maybe from the police
Point of arrest?
Yes,
to the court,
then to your place.
Yes.
And then the popular one then, when was that? 2003 or thereabout, where a popular celebrity in Nigeria says she was not actually in the correctional center. She was in a lounge very close to the place. In fact, having a maid to him or herself, enjoying life and things like this. Yes, we've had cases of people who were supposed to be serving a correctional process
and going through
in your center, but actually enjoying some VIP treatments there. Anyway, you mentioned that there ought to be segregation of classification. Is it that this class also includes
VIP
such
treatment?
Yes, I want to tell you that we have high profile inmates in the custodial centers. We have high profile inmates that needs to be accorded. High profile inmates that needs to be accorded privileges.
Based on their crime or based on who they are in the society?
No. The issue that they do raise that some inmates don't normally, I want to say it is completely, it doesn't happen.
But this person is self-confessed.
No. When I was an officer in charge, there was speculation that one of my particular inmates does not sleep in the center. And I myself, I reside in the official quarters given to me. So people can make insinuations, but I am telling you from my own experience, that particular inmate they made mention resides in the custodial center. So I am convinced that such rumors...
resides but sleeps.
He sleeps.
Okay.
It sleeps.
Okay. Recently,
in the custodial center.
Recently, we have a celebrity who has been in the correctional home for how many years, and yet after returning, barely a few months after they had the announcement of the birth of a child. So people were like, "Do we have spousal privilege?" While in correctional centers in Nigeria, where a man or a lady can, have intimacy
with their partner.
It does not happen.
It doesn't?
Yes, it doesn't.
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
So how come that?
It doesn't happen.
Okay, but probably maybe specimen could be taken.
Not
something like that.
Such
cannot be done.
Does not happen.
So
I'm telling you.
That must be pointing to some of the lapses that is within the correctional service framework then.
No.
So, well, we can't really say that the celebrity is exaggerating, or because this is something we could see play out, and we can actually all our attention focus on the
discussion is getting more interesting. The discussion is getting more interesting because we're talking about how correctional is our correctional center, in Nigeria. And Mr. Charles Oyewole is the controller of correctional services in Ondo State, has been telling debunking some of those things that you believed. It says they don't allow inmates. All inmates serve their term, and there are no privileges of some not sleeping within the
custodial centers,
the custodial centers, and all of that. And just before we went on the break, we actually asked you that what about those ones that claim to have babies just moments or months, less than 9 months after their release and all of that, or while the partner is still in incarceration, they are celebrating the birth of a child, to the world, and you said it doesn't happen.
And while I understand that you might not be able to oversee some correctional centers, of course you said that do not happen in your own correctional center.
There is a standard procedure.
Okay.
Standard
well, do you think there
procedure.
are there are corrupt officers in some correctional centers who might have allowed this?
If such situation arises, the department knows what to be done.
All right. Let's look at it this way. In some senior crimes in developed world, okay, so to speak, we have this spousal visit, privilege, where they can actually be intimate while on the visit. It's Nigeria.
We are talking about rehabilitation. Yes. I think that should be considered so that in the mental health while they live of the people in the custody as well.
Nigeria is a different country.
Yes, it is.
I want us to accept that. And for now, there have been no such push.
Okay, and now let's talk about some inmates that struggle to reintegrate themselves back into the society after they leave the custody of the correctional centers, because they fear stigmatization, and of course they have there's reduced opportunities for them in jobs. So what do you think can be done, and how can society help?
With their colleagues in crime, and before you know it, they are back to the centers. So there is need for the society to receive them back.
All right. On a final note, what's the process of reintegration back into the society for inmates who have served their term?
Well, that's the reason for the process of reformation, rehabilitation, and reintegration. These programs comprises of educational opportunities, vocational skill acquisition opportunities as well, so that at the expiration, and before I forget, there is also an aftercare program.
Okay.
Inmates that have acquired skills.
She was called the Lioness of Lisabi, a name that roared through the halls of colonial power and echoed in the hearts of women across Africa. Her name is Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, a teacher, activist, feminist, nationalist, and mother to legends. But before the fame, there was fire. Born on October 25, 1900 in Abeokuta, present-day Ogun State, Nigeria, Fumilayo was born Frances Abigail Olufumilayo Thomas. She came from a family that valued education, and in 1914, she became the first female student at Abeokuta Grammar School. Determined and brilliant, she later traveled to England for further studies, a rare feat for a Nigerian woman at that time. There, she trained as a teacher, absorbing ideas of equality and freedom that would shape her life's mission. On returning to Nigeria in the 1920s, she married Reverend Israel Ransom Kuti, a clergyman and educator. Together, they worked to uplift their community through education. But Fumilayo was not content with just teaching. She saw how colonial rule and traditional structures oppressed Nigerian women, and she decided to act. In 1947, she founded the Abeokuta Women's Union, one of Africa's most powerful grassroots women movements. The group fought against unfair taxation and the corrupt practices of the Alake, the traditional ruler of Abeokuta. Thousands of women led by Fumilayo marched in protest, they sang, they chanted, they occupied, and eventually they won. The Alake was forced to abdicate. Fumilayo Ramsankuti was fearless. She was one of the few Nigerian women to drive a car, to travel widely, and to speak truth to power. Her activism didn't stop in Abeokuta. She was a founding member Council of Nigeria and the Cameroon's NCNC. And in 1953, she became the first Nigerian woman to visit the Soviet Union, a move that earned her the label Communist Sympathizer by British authorities. But she wasn't deterred. In fact, she was emboldened. In her later years, she focused on broader issues: education, voting rights, women participation in politics. She advocated for the inclusion of women in leadership and resisted Nigeria's slide into Fela Anikulapo Kuti, the legendary Afrobeat pioneer, instilling in them the spirit of resistance and truth. But tragedy would eventually come. In 1977, during a brutal military raid on Fela's compound, known as Kalakuta Republic, Fumilayo was thrown from his second-story window by soldiers. She never recovered from the injuries, and on April 13th, 1978, she passed away. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was more than a mother, more than a teacher. She was a symbol of courage, of resistance, of dignity. She paved the path so Nigerian women could walk tall, speak freely, and fight for justice. Her legacy lives in every classroom, every protest, every woman who dares to say enough is enough. This was the story of Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, the lioness of listening, a voice that cannot be silenced, a spirit that lives on.
Yes, glad to know you're still with us on AM today. As we promised, we're here with our next guest for the next point of discussion. And this time around, we're looking at the exit of the USAID funds from Nigeria. Is it a crisis or opportunity for the nation, probably to self-reflect and bring forth something for development for itself? And to discuss this with us this morning, we have Mr. Ola Olaliri, a public affairs analyst with us and a friend of the house. And somehow, I think one of the headlines for Friday, one of the newspapers on Friday was screaming that the health sector, for instance, is going to feel the heat. And definitely, we still have internally displaced persons. We still have our rural communities, the farmers who depend on this fund. So is it a crisis for our nation?
Well, I'll look at it from two angles. Number one, the leaders of this country, if they're ready to work and to work hard, it should be an opportunity. But when you don't have resources, you think inward, you plan, you re-strategize. But it's going to be a crisis because of the kind of leadership we have. Let me also go back to history. You will find out that in the 70s, Nigeria borrowed IMF money, deposited money at the IMF that they should give to grant, like you mentioned, and the health sector is not properly funded. I know contractors who work in FMC or who have not been paid since 2024.
Well,
So if you have all of that, how do you think that the nation that raised the money, the people who pay, they pay tax, even water, everything is taxed. I have people
I think
there.
that says a lot about the corruption in the
So
system.
if you give money to a corrupt person, won't you rethink? Because the fact that you give money to people, that's the way I think anyway. If I give the money to somebody that he did not achieve what I thought it would achieve, I have lost the money.
Well, what do you think the government can do to reduce this corruption in most of our sectors?
Number one, the government should make government or governance less expensive. The number of aids, ministry, department and agencies should be reduced. Then you will now see how much money we push outside.
Do you think Nigeria can now start looking for to invest more to look for foreign investors now?
You can look for, there are a lot of issues in Nigeria. OSRC, you have canvassed me, I'm okay what you're saying and all that. But I found out 2 hours, 3 hours, you'll be off air because of lack of diesel, lack of energy. I'm just giving an example. Hypothetically. If I find out you're going to be off air for 3 hours, for 4 hours, why should you think I should come? Or why should you think a foreign investor should come to a place where he doesn't know whether he will be kidnapped, whether the worker will not come to work for 3 days, 5 days because of kidnapping?
But it actually depends. It actually depends on the message you're carrying.
No, I'm just giving you...
In creating some reforms to create more job opportunity for youths and of course the economic growth. I believe this can actually attract foreign investors.
If the reforms might be good somehow, so that we don't just think everything is bad about it.
Okay.
But the truth of the matter is that most of them are not well thought out.
Which one do you think?
For instance, the number one, which is the most prominent, is the subsidy removal.
Okay.
Before you remove subsidy, you must have been sure that there is free supply. The supply is enough. Dangote is, by now, will return your taxes. Now, the fuel at international crude oil at international level is down. The price is coming down now. But in Nigeria, the price of fuel refined product is up because there's no government that will control them.
Oh, well, now let's talk about we are still talking about national development. I believe government cannot do this alone. The citizens, of course, some organization, private sector also have a role to play in national development. So what role do you think the private sector, even philanthropists, and of course the non-governmental organization play? What role can they play in filling this gap the USAID left behind?
The road would have been easier for people to play if the environment is conducive. I remember, I want to believe you remember one guy that came, I think in Benue State, from the US over years, and he established agriculture. When you have a crisis at hand, you look for a way that you are going to control those crises. Number one, we should come back to this thing they call austerity measures in those days. Okay. But it's a period that the government wants us to go into people, all of us, to go into austerity measure. But it's not clear that the people in governance they are in austerity measure. So when you have crisis that okay, they have removed aid, it means you have lost certain of your revenue. Then you cut off.
Well, you said we're going to actually it will bring us back.
Bring us back to our feet. To not think of okay. What are the things we can do to import? It will now take us to think that okay, let all the states that have cement has whatever it is and akara. But your son, when he wants to move, they will stop the road for him, and he's even richer than my state. He should be richer than Ekiti State where I'm from.
Well, but you know there are actually agencies that are responsible to giving the providing grants and of course even loans to Nigerians as well.
This agency is looking at the outcome. I had worked with Is it not UC? There's one that belongs to England, not USAID.
Okay.
I can't remember what they call it now. They will let you are going to convince them of the outcome of that money before the release appears. Or that's why the money is mismanaged. Or that's why the money does not really get to where it's
Well,
supposed
there have
to
been
get to.
testimonies of people who actually come out.
Millions of students in school. It's just that kind of social fund is supposed to be like the USAID now. That's Nigeria own USAID, the local one.
The people are actually part of the government as well. When we are talking about corruption, it's actually the Nigerian citizen. They are the one in the government. So I wouldn't know. Well, you said earlier that some agencies should be re-strategized and some should actually be cancelled. But how do you think more Nigerians should not go towards this corruption path? It's actually I wouldn't know, maybe it's a cancer in society right now, especially in this corruption thing.
John C. Maxwell said,
every agency.
John C. Maxwell said, he said everything is about leadership. He said leadership is about influence, and he said everything falls and rises on the head of the leader. I'll give you an example. Buhari, fantastic, corrupt like the US said, but when you have a leader who does not have penchant for corruption, everybody will sit tight.
So you believe that Nigerian under the Buhari government was
It's not as
when it was military, no military.
That was,
but when
that
he
was
came
a
back,
chaos.
when he came back as
well, do you
civil,
think under the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not? You think the administration is not strict enough to combat corruption?
I think they are strict enough. But Jabi Amila should have been answering something like they're strict enough. I think they're strict enough. Snakes and all of that, swallowing money. I think they're strict enough and all of that.
Snake does not swallow money under this
but even snake does not swallow.
But
210 trillion in NNPC, and the National Assembly, the Senate, who set up a committee to investigate, have problem with the language the member of the committee used, not the money. And I saw a fantastic Senate president. And so let's see Nigeria like that if we are really serious. Like our husband now, which is you say it, whatever, and all of that. They decided to say, okay, I'm divorcing you. Nigeria should go and sit down and say, okay, with the little resources we have, we will channel it. The one we have, we are using to buy presidential jet for, the one we are using to buy yacht, the one we are using to build a new vice presidential lodge that as at last month, nobody has ever lived in that place for almost a year now. We could have, okay, let's see how we manage all of this. Let's see how we control the what they call all this, the entourage of Mr. President, Mrs. First Lady, Mr. Governor, and all of that. Let's see how we manage all of that.
Well, it's often said that people usually get the kind of leadership they deserve, because these leaders they're not imported. They
were voted for.
Yes, they came from amongst us. So, how do you think we can reach
us to the point that they depersonalize us? That in election in Ekiti State, a day to the election, they were throwing bread, 1,500 naira worth of loaf on the street, and people were running to pick, stamping on themselves. And so it's Machiavellian theory that make the people poor, they will depend on you.
Well, in the coming months, the reforms or some decision of the government will make us see or understand if this USAID exit is going to be a setback for us or an opportunity. So if you are to advance exit of the USAID,
before it will find its level, so they may likely do the same with this USAID thing. But in case I am called upon to advise them, number one, stop piling up in what you call foreign reserve. The money you just put there that's not doing anything. Put the money into production. So when you are doing a policy that you say the macro, and you tell me the macro economy is going to drive down the micro, and it has not for years, then it means you have to have a rethink. There's nothing you want to do with USAID and all of that, that the fuel is still sold at this particular price, that diesel that run our production is still this amount of money, and you don't monitor agency, ministry, department, and agency. There's no strict monitoring. Everybody's doing whatever they want to do, and then we are not effective. The running of our government is not effective. Go to offices, I don't want to mention what body language. If his body language says otherwise, he will still come late, and he will come and make noise again. Sorry, in quotes, he will come out. But if his body language says once you are late, you are in trouble, even without saying it, you will know. Okay, you are coming with your boss, 2 minutes to 8, 3 minutes to 8. You saw your boss coming out of the car and he's stepping out fast. He doesn't need to tell you not to come. The body language says that you. Even if somebody is giving you money or food, you will leave that and run inside. You wouldn't want your boss to get to the. And so the body language of the government.
It has to be tackled so that money going into IDPs and all of that, will be needless. Because we wouldn't be having all that if insecurity.
The Kebbi student that was kidnapped.
There's still
somebody all over the country.
Okay, let me go back. In the Chibok girls, our fantastic vice president was the governor of Borno State time. Then this our brother Wiki that there will be attack at Chibok, and Wiki wrote a letter to this vice president who was the governor saying that let there be no examination at Chibok. Please take them to the state capital, which is Maiduguri, where they can be well protected and do the exam.